And a very happy Monday to you at 12:06 in the West. It's the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wangs in Culver City.
John, once again, the city of Oakland is the city of champions. Because you know who won? The Bees.
Oakland Bees.
They won the Pioneer League.
What league is that?
It's a league where they mostly go against teams in Minnesota and Idaho.
I know what A-ball is. I know what double A is. I know what triple A is. I know what rookie league is. But the Pioneer League?
The Pioneer League, I think it has like 8 teams. It is a Class C minor league team based in the western United States.
The Pioneer League, that seems like it would be I don't know, like an office softball team for the hotel in Laughlin.
The Oakland Ballers are in the Pioneer League that they just won, and they compete against such teams as the Billings Mustangs and the Boise Hawks and the Colorado Springs Sky Sox and the Glacier Ridge Riders and the Grand Junction Jackalopes.
Aren't those the teams from a league of their own?
They won their big championship game against the Idaho Falls Chuckers.
The Chuckers? You get a crowd real drunk, and they want to go ahead and give them the business.
Oakland Bees.
You know what the Chuckers turns into real fast.
So we don't need you anymore, A's, because the Oakland Bees are champions.
And we still got our Oakland A's, baby.
You really don't.
Well, something to be proud of. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. Yesterday, of course, Sunday, was the day that the Charlie Kirk Memorial took place in Arizona, a packed house at a football stadium. That's the stadium where the Cardinals play, and then the overflow crowd was in the arena next door. The headline today in just about every newspaper in America is that Charlie Kirk's widow forgave the shooter. I got to tell you, she is a much bigger person than I am. Because I saw that, and I couldn't believe the words that were coming out of her mouth. And I was thinking to myself, if I were in that position, could I be big enough to forgive the person who did that? And then I thought, 0% chance that would happen. I would get up there, if it were me, and I feel comfortable saying this, and I would say, listen, here's what I want. I want you to fill this guy so full of electricity that flames shoot out the back of his head. I want the power knocked out in neighboring states, and then I want you to shoot him in the chest. I don't know if people would react to my speech the same way that they reacted to hers, but that's what would come out of my mouth. And then Trump went up there and basically said what I said. She can forgive him, I don't. And it was a powerful, powerful tribute yesterday, Sunday, coming from the state of Arizona. All right, so that's what's going on nationally. Here in California, we now have a brand new poll about Prop 50.
And that poll shows that Prop 50, if the election were held today, has about 51% support.
Which puts it in the danger zone, because typically the way things work with ballot initiatives is you need to poll north of 60% to be comfortable that it's going to pass, because anyone who is undecided typically votes no. If you don't know if you're going to support something, the reflexive position is to just go with the status quo, which means Gavin Newsom is going to have to raise and spend a lot of money.
For more on the new poll on Prop 50, here's Fox 40.
The most transparent and democratic.
Guys, who turned the subwoofer all the way up?
Yeah, what's the deal with that?
The most transparent and democratic redistricting that's ever been done in the United States of America.
Sure.
It sounds like there's a marital aid going on.
Governor Gavin Newsom Friday urging support for Prop 50, the November ballot measure asking voters to approve through 2030 this new statewide congressional map, redrawn in favor of Democrats. Newsom has long argued it's necessary to fight back against red states, including Texas, advancing their own redistricting, backed by President Donald Trump to help pick up Republican seats there.
We're confident the voters will do the right thing.
So just where do voters stand on the measure? This new exclusive poll from Emerson College and Inside California Politics asked 1,000 registered California voters to weigh in.
By the way, I always wonder when they do these, how hard is it to get to 1,000 people that will actually respond to that text message? Because I go to report junk on all that crap.
I get so many spam phone calls every single day. If you aren't in my phone, I don't even answer it.
51% said if the election were held today, they'd support Prop 50, while 34% said they would not. Another 15% are undecided. Poll director.
Prop what?
What, Californians checked out? Come on.
Poll director Matt Taglia notes Prop 50 performs even better among respondents who say they're very likely to turn out.
Folks who are most certain that they're going to turn out, it's 55% yes versus 35% no. So a 20-point margin there. If
that's what they say they're going to do.
Yeah, whether or not they actually turn out, that's a different story.
The ballot's going to be in your mailbox about a week from now. You're going to pull it out. It's going to go under the stack of all the bills. Some people will fill it out immediately and put it in the ballot box. Some people will completely forget it exists until it's shredder day and they realize, oh, I'm supposed to vote on this thing.
Well, and people aren't used to voting in odd years.
Not
this
anymore.
Is something, well, yeah, particularly for statewide ballot initiatives. If you've ever been to a baseball game where the game starts on a Sunday at 5:05. They used to have those Sunday night ESPN games of the week, and if the game was picked to be the game of the week, they changed the time to 5:05 on the West Coast, 8:05 on the East Coast, because that's what time the game plays on ESPN. However, if you go to baseball games on Sunday, they're almost always at 1:05 in the afternoon. That's just the way it works because it's a travel day and people need to move on to the next city. The teams do. You change that time to 5:05, guess what happens? People show up to the stadium at 1:05 because that's when they usually go. This is what's happening right now with politics. People aren't used to voting in odd years. You throw an election in an odd year, my guess is you're going to get real low turnout because no one's used to voting then.
If I had to put money on it, this looks like it is headed towards a yes vote.
Claremont McKenna College professor of government Jack Pitney offering a different take.
People tend to overstate their likelihood of voting.
Yep.
That's the Randy position.
And I wouldn't say this is baked in the cake by any means.
Prop 50 opponents, including former Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, are concerned the measure will pause the state's voter-approved independent redistricting commission through the end of the decade. During his time in office, Schwarzenegger fought to take the power of drawing maps away from the politicians. But now he's concerned Prop 50 will, at least temporarily, undo that.
This is why it is important for you to vote no on Proposition 50.
Still,
boy, I really thought he was going to say you have to terminate it.
Give it time, he will.
Still, the poll found 2/3 of respondents say Schwarzenegger's opposition to the measure makes no difference in how they'll vote.
Most voters really don't care what he thinks. Now, I say that as somebody who voted both times for him, and I still think he's a good governor, but he just doesn't have the same kind of clout he had in the early 2000s.
In the 2026 race for governor to replace the termed-out Gavin Newsom, the poll found Democratic former Orange County Congressmember Katie Porter is in the lead with 16% support.
Katie Porter!
If she is the front runner and stays the front runner, while that's good for the content of this show, God help us.
Former Fox News host, Republican Steve Hilton, is in second with 10%. Should Senator Alex Padilla decide to run, today he'd come in fourth with 7%.
Okay, that's pathetic. He's a sitting U.S. senator in the state of California, and nobody knows who he is because he's so invisible. We like to ask that question. If he were to stand on Sunset Boulevard or Hollywood Boulevard, out of the first 100 people who passed him, how many do you think would recognize him?
0.
Yes. And of those who do recognize him, they'll think he's Eric Estrada.
Experts say the big takeaway right now, 36% are undecided.
It's early. Anything can happen. It is an open contest. It is a crowded field.
That's, by the way, 36% have no idea who any of those people are.
Well, and why should they? They're members of the legislature. They are longtime electeds who have wrecked the state. What accomplishments have they produced that would result in us knowing who they are?
And for the full poll results, head to our website, fox40.com. Reporting downtown, covering local news that matters, Eitan Wallace, Fox 40 News.
So there's the big poll that got released on Friday. The big takeaway is right now, Prop 50 stands at only 51% support.
And that means it could go either way, and Gavin Newsom's political future, that's hanging in the balance. Now, speaking of Gavin Newsom, he also made his way into the news based on a passage that was written by former Vice President Kamala Harris in her book.
You buying that thing?
No.
Not even a little curious?
No, I do like the fact that she's being catty and she's breaking bad on everyone.
Well, she's doing it in the Kamala way where it's a half measure against everyone and she's never going full throat.
No. Don't be passive-aggressive. Be overtly aggressive. That's a lot more interesting.
So at a press conference on Friday where Gavin was signing a bunch of bills, including extending the spending for high-speed rail for another 20 years, he got asked about Kamala's accusations in the book that Gavin wasn't returning her calls or texts on the day that Grampy Joe dropped out.
Under the federal program.
Governor, welcome back to San Francisco. Pivoting a little bit here, can you respond to some of the excerpts that have come out of the former vice president's book so far, including an excerpt recently this week that you didn't text her back after the president bowed out of the race, like some other accusations in the book?
Well, I don't know about accusations. I don't know if it's even an accusation. Having been engaged very directly with.
Did you ghost Kamala or not?
You notice he's acting like this is just some rumor picked up off the internet. It's not a rumor picked up off the internet. It is directly from her book, coming directly from her book. She is the source. She is the one that wrote this, in theory.
I wonder how into detail does she get? Does she describe how the iPhone was open and she could see that the message was delivered, or can she see that the message was read and he still didn't reply?
Well, she claims that she called him and that he sent her a voicemail and that she left him a voicemail saying to call her back. He responded not by calling her back, but with a text message that said, hiking, call you back later, and then he never called her back.
Been engaged very directly with the vice president this last few weeks, as you know, on some high-profile issues that are important. But no, I haven't read it, and so it's hard to even opine about context and to even reflect on anything that's in the book.
Did you call her back after the after the president bowed out of the race?
Oh, I mean, this is such a trivial. Doesn't even.
Did he just meh?
He did.
Oh, I mean, this is such a
Nah.
trivial. Doesn't even go into describing how inconsequential my comments are about to be. You want to waste your time with this? We'll do it. Was up there hiking. There was an unknown number. Check the unknown number. Meanwhile,
he thought it was a telemarketer.
I think he knew it was her, and that's why he sent her the voicemail.
Meanwhile, I was on text chains trying to get in touch with the Biden administration because I was completely surprised that the president dropped out. And as you know, I was a surrogate, and I was out on the campaign trail. And so I was trying to figure out what just happened. And then when I checked the unknown number, and that was Kamala, said, hey, hiking, we'll call you back.
And she said in the book that he never did.
That sounds about right. Well, he had his own phone calls to make because he wanted that endorsement first.
Didn't he originally say that he was on the treadmill when it happened?
That's what he told Marshawn Lynch when he was doing the other podcast and described this day. He said he was on the treadmill and he was so in the zone that he didn't even notice his phone was going off, and he noticed on the TV people were saying that Biden was dropping out. So there's a lot of different versions of this, as to quote Gavin, inconsequential story.
Okay, no one's in the zone on a treadmill. You do it because you don't want to be fat, but everyone hates every minute of it, and it's boring.
That exact same moment was working with my team to put out a statement to endorse her.
No, you weren't.
No. You were kicking tires on running yourself at that point, and you didn't want to be asked to endorse her because then you'd be boxed in. That's what happened.
Well, and if they are so on the same wavelength with each other and so buddy-buddy, how come Gavin didn't get a speaking slot at the DNC?
And how come he didn't call her back?
I assume that's in the book as well, that hours later, the endorsement came out. So beyond that, pretty well established, including an event in San Francisco we did at the Fairmont for a few weeks later. What happened after that?
That's what Gavin had to say.
Okay, so we know that he's a pathological liar. He can't even keep his own story straight. Didn't he also, when he was talking to Marshawn Lynch on that podcast, didn't he also say in a joking sort of way, oh, yeah, we ended up having a real primary this time, didn't we?
Hagenberger.
Meaning he never had the opportunity to run. Because someone brought up that he should have run, and he said, oh, well, we did have an open primary. Ha, ha, ha.
That was his whole idea. I'm going to keep kissing Grampy Joe's ass, and then when Grampy Joe can't make it, I'm the guy.
And then a funny thing happened on the way to the convention. She took it away from him. And he was being catty to her because she got what he wanted. That's what happened. Because the moment she started dialing phone numbers, she was directly asking for endorsements. Because wasn't it the governor of Michigan who said, I'm not going to give it to you right now? Most of them did. Some of them didn't. From Gavin's point of view, if she can't get a hold of him, then he doesn't have to commit one way or the other.
And then the Obamas really pissed her off because they waited a whole week.
So here's our question for you at 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. How much, behind the scenes, do you think Kamala Harris hates Gavin Newsom? I think she despises him, and I think she put this passage in the book to stick it to him. What say you? At 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, if you missed Friday's show and you want to hear what the remote in the San Fernando Valley at Pineapple Hill sounded like, that's easy to do.
All you got to do is search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's the Apple Podcast app, iHeart, Spotify. Search for The John Phillips Show. Hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes. Do a Google on the YouTube. Get the KABC app. Get the KSFO app. There are so many different ways to download all our podcasts. Listen live to the station. And if you're specifically looking for that live remote, special shout out to listener Roger that reminded me on Sunday that I should post them.
And speaking of leaving the studio, Randy, we're doing that again this Friday.
We're going back over the edge. We are going to be at the Universal Hilton on Friday from noon to 3 to be a part of the Union Rescue Mission's Over the Edge for a Cause event. This happens September 26th and September 22nd, September 27th, where you can rappel down a 25-story building to help raise funds to support Union Rescue Mission's work with people experiencing homelessness. Every dollar raised is matched up to $500,000. So if you want to get involved, sign up to rappel or support a participant. Donate to double your impact and share with your network to amplify awareness. Go to urm.org/OTE.
Coming up after the news at 1, we're going to talk to a gentleman who used to do the show all the time back when I was on at night. His name is Larry Sand, and he was the Teacher of the Year here in the state of California. And now he's an expert on education reform. He knows all about public schools. He knows all about teachers' unions. He knows all about the subjects that we spent a lot of time over the last couple of weeks talking about. I know that many of you who teach at public schools, particularly after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, have been targeted by your colleagues. We know that many of you who send your kids to public schools have been targeted by the teachers if they are a political conservative. Larry Sand is going to be here to talk about that, and he's going to stick around the entire hour to take your calls. Many of you have been emailing us questions. We're not experts on this subject, so we're not the ones to answer those questions, but Larry is. So if you're a school teacher, you're a parent, and you have questions about what's going on right now in the public schools, give us a call next hour, and Larry will answer those questions. Right now, we're taking your calls at 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. Kamala Harris, in her book, says that when she called Gavin Newsom to ask him for his endorsement when she was going to become the Democratic nominee after Grampy Joe dropped out, he sent her to voicemail, texted her back and said, "I'm hiking, I'll call you back later," and never returned her call. How much do you think she secretly hates him? 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. Let's go to Robert in Santa Clara. Robert, hello.
Yeah, I really, got really mixed feelings about this, how this plays out. But, she's going to come out and state that in the book. I mean, she knows she's being used because she's really not that competent. She's been used like with the radical abortion thing all the way up to the, birth alive and stuff, being advocate. It's insane, really no human, with a conscience can even do that. So, I mean, she's going to be regulated because I believe you've seen Gavin, you've talked before, all the SEALs of the UN. These are being groomed by the deep state to be installed as, chairman of the New World Order. Yeah, it's just this guy can get away with everything, and he's always managed to never be there with Prop 19, but he's backed it. He's backed all the stealing, but, he never gets blamed for it. They don't flood the zone in the media saying he's, totally backing all these horrible things we have to deal with, being homeowners or trying to, have a normal society and have basic security walking around. And everything's changed. It's and the daily change is worse, and people are getting weirder because you have a lunatic fringe of people who are very susceptible to all their narratives, and we're just living in a weird world where we have a low trust society now, thanks to Gavin. Absolutely. He is, Nancy's grooming him to be installed. He's going to be untouchable. And he's taking opportunity, with the bleeding heart thing, with seeing Hispanics go back. He's, trying to get all the people who, are going to go with the ethnic grievance route first and think that, that we have a carrying capacity for the amount of people we can put up for $500 a night in a hotel and give free benefits to, but no scrutiny in most of the media except for you guys and a few other normal people.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir. I'll tell you, I don't think Gavin is as inevitable as some, particularly on the right, think. Gavin Newsom is a very flawed candidate. He's been able to win election after election because he's put his name on the ballot in a deep blue state like California. But if Gavin Newsom was running for statewide office in Arizona, do you think he'd be viable? I don't. I think half of that state is people who used to live here but left because of him. So I'm not of the belief that Gavin Newsom is the threat that many people believe that he is. Now, back to Kamala Harris for a second. Randy, what do you think is the motivation for her to write this book? Does she think that this is going to make her more popular with Democrats, so she's more likely to win the Democratic primary?
You know, this is the question that's being asked all over the place. What is the purpose of this book? Because if it's just a burn all the bridges airing of the grievances, she's definitely not going far enough, at least with the excerpts that have been released so far. If this is her trying to get the spotlight to run for 2028, she's pissing off a whole bunch of people that she'll need their support to get there. So it seems to me she wrote this book to try to hold up her hands and say, it wasn't my fault.
Here's what I don't understand. When she was the candidate, it was clear to everyone, including her, that Joe Biden was unpopular. Because Joe Biden didn't drop out of the race because he was intellectually feeble. If he dropped out of the race because he believed that he was intellectually feeble, he would have had to have resigned as president too. The reason that Joe dropped out of the race was because the Democratic Party didn't think he could win the election. They thought if they kept him as the candidate, that it would be a foregone conclusion that Donald Trump would be the next president of the United States, and they all hated him and didn't want that to happen. So the question becomes, if you're Kamala Harris and you're willing to light Grampy Joe on fire, why do it after the election? If you did that during the election, then yeah, some people would say, okay, you're a disloyal vice president. But in the Democratic primary in 2020, you basically already accused him of being part of the Klan. So it's not like she's not willing to go there with him. For whatever reason, she wouldn't create any separation at all between her and Grampy Joe during the campaign. Had she done so, she would have benefited from that. But instead of doing it at a time where the Democratic Party would have benefited with her, she did it after the election so that she benefits by selling books. If you're a Democratic primary voter, I don't see how this does anything but hurt her stock with you. Because I just don't understand why now is the time to do it unless the money is the motivating factor. And if the money's the motivating factor, well, then you might just be out of politics.
Okay, how much of an advance did she really get on this thing? Because I don't think this one's going to #1 on the New York Times bestseller list.
No, I don't see that happening either. She would have had to have done a lot more dishing for that to happen. Let's go to Brenda in L.A. Brenda, hello.
Hi. Two comments. Number one, Camellia should be chameleon because she just supports the narrative. Her handlers told her what to say, and she followed along. And one of those things was probably not to throw Biden under the bus if you want to support. I agree with everything you just said. As far as Newsom, he does the same thing. He gets a little more dramatic about it, but he did that debate with Sean Hannity and Ron DeSantis. And I remember they said, hey, we're having a great time here. Let's go another half hour. He said, okay, after the commercial, I'm willing to stay. And then we came back from commercial. His handlers pulled him. And he can't hold a candle if he has to debate the facts. Finally, I'm just going to make a comment. I don't know why everyone says he's so good looking. He looks like a lizard to me. I don't understand all the about his looks. To me, he looks slimy. Nothing wrong with rosacea, but he looks like he has a big face of rosacea. He's not attractive. I just don't get it, but, you know, what do I know? That's just my opinion.
That gravelly voice doesn't do it for you?
They said he's so handsome and he's got the great hair. And I look at him and I go, what am I missing? He looks like a lizard to me. He's just, I don't know. I'm losing my appetite right now. I was going to go have lunch. Maybe this is a good way to lose weight. I need to lose that COVID weight that I keep blaming for my weight gain. COVID's over.
Thank you for the call.
We might need to change the topic. Gavin, hot or not?
800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. Secretly, how much do you think Kamala hates Gavin? I think a whole lot. What say you at 800-222-5222? 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
Aaron in Campbell writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. Hi, guys. I find Randy's sultry laugh and giggle hot, Gavin not. And she wants a drop of me laughing. I don't know what you're going to do with it, but go nuts.
Let's go to Lisa in Glendale. Lisa, hello.
Hi, John and Randy. Well, couple things. He has a face like a possum. He has a doughy, bloated body, and he has cola throat, if you know what I mean.
You know, it's funny because I've always thought of all the politicians in California, the weirdest looking one was Adam Schiff. He looks like the kind of guy where if you were taking your kids trick-or-treating, you'd skip that house.
And he would never have cola throat because it would take too much.
Thank you for the call. Let's go to Johnny in Hollywood. Johnny, hello.
Yeah, Holly Weird. Hey, John, I think Gavin has to stay in his own lane. I mean, he's got his hands full here. The fifth largest economy in the world in California. Stay in your lane, and I hope you're listening to the show, Newsom. Just stay in your lane. Stay in California politics because. And the thing is, Kamala Harris, the reason that you don't respect her what she's accomplished in California politics, she's done a lot. And now you're just kind of like ignoring her. You don't call, you don't answer her phone calls. Come on, just stay in your lane, Gavin.
Well, it's funny that you say that because, yes, I think that she dislikes him. She certainly dislikes him enough to put this anecdote in the book because the story is in there for a reason, which is that she felt insulted. I don't think that he hates her. I think that he is dismissive of her. I don't think he believed that she deserved a call back from him because then he would be forced to give her an answer as to whether or not he would be willing to endorse her, and he didn't want to do that.
Exactly. No, I'm totally on board with that. And yeah, thank you for your response.
All right. Thanks for the call, sir.
By the way, Johnny, the email is exploding with people who want to opine if Gavin is hot or not.
Okay, let's hear what they have to say.
Harry writes in the subject line, Gavin hot? Not. Hey, guys, if you remember the show The Land of the Lost, it had characters in there called Slee Stacks. That's what Gavin Newsom looks like. Penny writes in and says, I just popped in, but I know exactly who she was talking about with that description. Gavin is not good looking. Vomit emoji.
You know what's funny is that California is the state where all the good looking people move here to make it big in Hollywood. But outside of Arnold Schwarzenegger, who was a genuine movie star, most of the people in elected office are not attractive. I mean, look, maybe Alan Cranston knew how to win elections. But if that guy is going to a bar and expects to be walking out with someone, he's going to be paying for it.
I'll credit him for it because it's his line, not mine. But Larry O'Connor used to be on this station, always said, politics is Hollywood for ugly people.
Yeah. Well, who was it? It was Doug McIntyre who used to say, Hollywood is a place where all the beautiful people from all over the globe move here to make it big in show business. And all the ugly people move here to take 10%. All right, let's go to Dan in Sonoma. Dan, hello.
Hey, John and Randy. I've got two questions for you. If you don't mind, we shift back to the Prop 50 thing, which you started the show with. First of all, where have these big government Republicans been? Schwarzenegger, McCarthy, Charles Munger. We've got a ton of problems here in the state. Now, why are they popping up here with this Prop 50 thing? I don't understand that their motivation. But especially when I was in the Republican Party years ago, there was one person I didn't trust, and it was Charles Munger. Charles Munger gives money, but he wants something in return. He simply won't give it just to be a nice guy. What is his angle? What does he want in return for giving all this money and effort to stop Prop 50?
Well, I think it's personal for them because they were the ones that gave us the independent commission. And if you take those commission-drawn lines, you take that map, and you say, okay, we're destroying it, we're getting rid of it, but we're only doing it once, that's not going to happen. These people get addicted to the power. Politicians, if they could draw their own lines, they would draw their own lines in a heartbeat. Don't forget, many of the Democratic members of Congress and statewide elected officials and the state legislature, they opposed the independent commission. They did not want the independent commission when we voted on it last time around. They certainly don't want it anymore today. And if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. If this Prop 50 is approved by voters, it's not going to be a temporary thing. I know they say it is. That's not going to be what happens. Look at what happened with Jerry Brown's temporary tax increases. They were made permanent because they got addicted to the money. If they get rid of those independent lines and they draw their own lines, you're never going to have an independent commission draw lines again.
So in other words, they're just protecting their legacy. And let's say they're successful in stopping Prop 50, they go away, and California is still in the blank hole that it is, and we won't see them again?
Yeah, I think it is very personal for them. Why was Jerry Brown so wed to the bullet train? Because that is his legacy. He wants that train to be something that people remember him for when he's dead and gone. And so, therefore, a Jerry Brown will never turn against the bullet train. That's just not going to happen. For these people, they believe their legacy is that independent commission. You get rid of that independent commission, to their eye, you are erasing their legacy.
Well, it is easy to see why the Republican Party is in the shape that it's in.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir.